So, first unit is an introduction, and in today's class, we will see about what are all the basics of measurement. Then, what is classification of error? So, okay, that is what we are going to see today. So, the entire unit number one is basics of measurement, classifications of error, and error analysis. We are going to deal with the errors. Then comes your static and dynamic characteristics of transducers. Then performance measures of sensor. Then we will see various classifications of sensors and how to calibrate. Calibrate is nothing but with the standard meter we will have. That standard meter, we say that standard meter has no error. So that no error equipment will be tested with the device which we have, so that we will identify what is the error which is showing, then we will calibrate it. So calibration is just adjusting, that's all. Then comes your sensor output signal types. There is various types of sensors and all that signals. So this is what your unit number 1, and today let us discuss about the first 3, that is basics of measurement, then classification of errors, and how we are going to analyze the error. Okay, so that is what we are going to see. So now let us start with basic. So measurement is an important subsystem in any major system. See, nowadays everything is an embedded, so everything is going to work without human interference. So if nothing is going to interact with human, everything has to be sensed by the sensor, and the sensor should be controlled. So that is what we say, and so that the measurement is very important. Everything you measure, like you measure your distance when you take a car, and if that you want to make that car to be totally autonomous, then each and every movement of your car should be recorded from your all types of sensors which you connect. So from the sensor we will measure and we will do all the calculations. So that is why we say measurement is an important subsystem in major systems. So when you take as a system, this will be all a subsystem. Okay, then measurement system consists of sensors, actuators, transducer, and signal processing devices. The sensor, which is nothing but from real world, converting real world values to electrical signal, we call it as sensor. If a person is reversely working, which means from the electrical signal he will convert into mechanical, which is called as actuators. Both the fellow put together we call it as transducers. Okay, so transducer is a general term which has a classification of both sensors and actuators. Then comes your signal processing device, which is nothing but any data obtained from sensors cannot be directly given to any controllers. They will have both signal value as well as noise will be there. So in signal processing, what we will do, we will try to remove all that noise, we will try to capture the signal alone. So these are the basic block sets of measurement. I repeat, you have an sensor, actuator, these two put together we call it transducers. So transducer is convert from one form to another form, so electrical to mechanical or mechanical to electrical. When anything you say from mechanical to electrical, we call it as sensors. From electrical to mechanical, you call it as actuators. Okay, so you get the information, then you do all type of processing like removing your noise, amplification, all that will be done using a signal processing device. Okay, so next is sensor. A sensor is an element that produces signal relating to the quantity that is being measured. So you might have seen some sensors like voltage sensor, current sensor. Even our lab ammeter and voltmeter is also a sensor which is able to sense your voltage level and current level, and they are able to display it. So that is also a sensor. So according to Instrument Society of America, which we call it as ISA, sensor is a device that provides useful output in response to the specified quantity which is being measured. So what is to be measured should be clearly shown, that we call it as sensor. The word sensor is derived from original meaning of perceive, to perceive, which means to get. Okay. So next, a sensor detect the change. So changes will be detected and the physical stimulus and provides a corresponding output signal. So that can be measured and recorded. Some instrument they measure and some instrument they record. For you to understand, let us see, power is being measured by watt meter and energy meter. There is a difference. Okay. Watt meter will measure and energy meter will record. So instantaneous power is being displayed by both, whereas one will continuously record the information, another one will just show what is the current power consumed. So that is what they say here. So sensors are both the types are there. Some sensor they will measure and just they will tell you, and some sensor will measure and they will record. Okay. Then the sensor is a device that perform input function in a system as they sense the change in the quantity. There are some advanced sensors, so they will sense and they will try to perform the activities. One more example for sensor, very old example, which is nothing but a thermometer, where you have a mercury, and in the thermometer glass you have calibrated, so you have a scale. So when the temperature rises, this mercury will try to rise, and from that we will try to identify what is the outside temperature with the help of the calibrated glass tube. So that calibrated glass tube will have readings that will tell. So this is very basic example of a sensor. So you should not misguide that sensor is nothing but temperature sensor and other moisture sensor. All that are very advanced sensor, but for our class we start from basic, which is nothing but even a thermometer is a sensor, voltmeter is a sensor, watt meter as well as energy meter are all comes under sensor. Okay. Now let us talk about actuators. So actuator which will get the electrical signal as an input and it will try to have some mechanical. Have you heard of something called solenoid? So solenoid is nothing but I think you might have went to some 5-star hotels or some hotel where when you show your hand near your wash basin, then automatically the water starts to come. Okay, that is nothing but they sense and they sense your hand. Once they sense your hand, we have a person called solenoid, and that solenoid is nothing but an actuator. So solenoid you will have, so you will have given electric signal. Initially this will be like a pipe in which a weight is been at the bottom, so that will not allow the water to come through the pipe. Once if the signal is get, then this solenoid will get activated and it will try to move up so that water will move from one end to another end. So that is an example of actuators, and LVDT and all you might have seen, all they comes under actuators. Okay. So transducer are the device that convert energy in one form to another form. So both sensor and actuators comes under transducer. Okay. So transducer is a general name, which is nothing but you will convert from one energy to another. Okay. Generally the energy is in the form of always in signal. You should know what is the difference between signal and power. Okay. Signal level and power level. Signal level is you cannot directly go and you cannot give it to any speakers or any other device. I think you might all studied a concept called TTL, transistor logic, as well as CMOS. Okay, so transistor logic is nothing but you have two amplifiers. So you try to amplify. So once the signal is amplified, then only it can be connected to any other device. So that is what they say. Generally the energy is in the form of signal. Transducer in term collectively used for both sensors and activators. Now we go for criteria to choose sensor. Okay, how you will choose a sensor for your particular application. First one is type of sensing, whether you are going to go for temperature or pressure or voltage or current. So depending upon that you have to identify the person who is going to sense. Then operating principle of the sensor. So something will be like operating principle is you have to have a mechanical structure. You should not put your sensor in a vertical position. It should be always kept in horizontal position, and this cannot be used all the place where to sense. So depending upon the operating principle, we will try to select. Then power consumption, this plays a major role. See, a car on a road and a satellite on the space, both are not same. Okay, but both use sensors of same type. See, you have a car, for automatic parking, you say you go for ultrasound sensor or infrared sensor or laser sensor, whatever you call. Here power is not a problem for me, because I can keep a huge battery inside my car, so that I can supply power to that particular sensors. Okay, whereas see the case of satellite, where the weight of the satellite itself is very less. So what I cannot do, I cannot waste power there. So I should have a sensor which is operating at very low power. You have a subject in this semester as microprocessor and microcontroller. So in that you will see, they will say power supply is plus 5 volt. All that was invented in 1971. Okay, so at the time of inventing in 71, we were using plus 5, but nowadays all the ICs or all the controllers, advanced controllers, they use 3.3 volts or even less. Now we have a even microcontroller which is operating at 1.8 volts itself. So we try to bring the power level down so that you can use it for space application. So what I mean to say is, when you select a sensor for application, then power consumption plays a major role. Then accuracy. See, there is a difference between a project in final year and a project which is to be used in a real world. We don't want such accuracy in our system, whereas when you go for real world, see, when you say a car has been totally automatic control, where accuracy is very very important. Slightly if it is, that sensor is missing the pulse, or sensor is not giving, or it is not responding to the nearby object, then it may leads to accident. Okay, so accuracy also plays a major role. Then environment condition. See, all the sensors manufactured at one particular place, and it is not being used all over the world with the same atmospheric condition. So when you take a sensor which is going to be operated in Madras, and one is going to be operated in Switzerland, and one is to be going to be operated in Egypt, they all three are not same. We have a moderate temperature, another person is very extreme cold, another person is very extreme hot. So there is a classification in sensors like class A, class B and all. So you have to select the, like, class A is for commercial and class C is for defense. So based upon that you have to select. Okay, and next one is cost. See, if you want to so accurate, and if you go for high-end sensor, then automatically cost will rise. Resolution and range. Range we all know, if your voltage is between 0 to 230, I don't want to go for sensor which can operate for 500 volts, which is waste of cost. Whereas if you say 3 phase, then it will go around 415. There the sensor at least range should be with around 600 or 500, so that it is able to read the value. So only based upon the project and based upon the application, we have to say about the resolution and range. So it is not fixed that this range is available, you can go on with your project. So that is not the case. Then calibration and repeatability. Calibration is at the time of manufacture. Once a product sensor is developed, we will take that sensor, and that sensor, what we will do is, we will test with the standard person. If there is any error, we will adjust and we will bring it to 100%. So that is called calibration. Repeatability is, if for a known value we will try to give, and we will see whether the sensor is giving the same value, and not today, it has to give on 360 days. So that is called as repeatability. Okay, next, basic requirement of sensor or transducer. If you say is a sensor, then he should have some characters. Similarly, we say if we are a student, then we say we should have some characteristics, that is pre-requirement. That is, you should understand, you try to come regularly, and so on, like that. So here there are some pre-requirement is required. First one is range. So it indicates the limit. So every person has a range. Okay, I am right. So I can take 1.5 hours class, But the same sensors and transducer I cannot take 5 hours. It is obvious, no one will listen. So same case, every sensor will have its own range. For example, it will operate from 25 degree to 250 degree, a particular temperature sensor. Okay, then as accuracy, there are, for example, you have an energy meter at home. Okay, similarly there is an energy meter at industry. Both consume power, but both the meters are not same. The reason is our home does not require any high accuracy meter because we are public. So they do like a service for us, so they will not measure as accurate power consumed, they will not do as what they do in industry, where this is an example where in industry it is a commercial, so very accurately we will measure and we will try to put a bill so that we try to get the amount. So that is what accuracy itself will change depending upon the project or depending upon the product you develop. Next is your sensitivity. Sensitivity is if there is some change, whether you are able to respond. Okay, if I suddenly ask anything, you have to unmute and then tell your answer. So that is with respect to your sensitivity. Okay, once I may ask you, if you take more than 15 to 20 minutes and then say hello sir, or if you say anything, then it is your sensitivity is very low. Okay, and again this depends upon the project, which some project will require high sensitivity, some project will require low sensitivity. For an example, you have an agriculture land where I want to go with for automate agriculture method, their sensitivity is not an issue. Whereas the same case when you move for automobile industries, the sensitivity is very high required, because any less sensitivity may leads to accident. Stability is nothing but again it is a repeating. Stability is you should be showing the same result all the times. Okay, then repeatability and stability, there is no much difference. Stability is the sensor should not break or sensor should withstand, and repeatability is whenever you read it should show the same value. Then response time, it is the speed of change in output on the stepwise change in input. And see, this is similar to your what we have seen in your sensitivity. Okay, so there is no much difference between sensitivity and response time. Then linearity, this is again thing you should know, what is linear and what is non-linear, whether humans are linear or non-linear. The answer is we are linear to some particular range, beyond that we will become non-linear, which means say I can take class for 45 minutes, so maximum of I can go till 1 hour. Now if I take for 1.5 hours, what will happen is at the starting you will be listening, already you will put it in mute. Okay, if the time goes on, obviously our mind will start think some other thing, so we become non-linear. So similarly all your devices also, they will work till some particular duration, then they also will become non-linear due to the inductive and capacitive property of that particular device. See, when there is some charge involved operation where beyond a particular value, what happens is that becomes non-linear. For an example, you have a transformer, you have a core in your transformer, and if you are constantly, if there is change in voltage and current, you have something called a BH curve. When it is beyond a particular value, field has been varied, there won't be any change in magnetic field. See, what is there in principle of transformer? You have primary, you give your electric supply, corresponding magnetic field has been created, and the far next end on the secondary side, again this magnetic field is converted into electrical field, and this magnetic field to electric field conversion depends upon number of turns. When you increase the turns, the voltage will increase, but I cannot go on increase and try to get more output, because again that fellow will go into non-linearity. Beyond a certain thing he will not increase. Okay, then ruggedness, it is a measure of durability. So when you buy a sensor, for how many years I can use, so that is called as ruggedness. This again depends upon cost of the product. So if I manufacturer simply say it as a car, Maruti 800 is not equivalent to Fortuner, because Maruti 800 also has 4 wheels, 4 chairs, 4 person can travel, you have a steering, you have brake, accelerator, all that you have in Maruti 800. but that is not same to your Fortuner car developed by Toyota. See, where in case of Toyota, it is more ruggedness, which means it can withstand all type of roads. Similarly to your sensors also, there are some sensors which are so ruggedness, so they can be used in Rajasthan or in place where there is a possibility for breakage. Okay, so these are all the requirements for a sensor. Then we move on to measurement. One thing is, we should be very clear, no measurement is accurate, which means you cannot say you have measured it, what you have measured is correct. I think you all might done machines lab last semester. I think you might have completed machines lab, and all you might have drawn the graph for various machines. You might have drawn the characteristics for transformer, DC machines and all. And if you have got any value greater than 80 or 90% accuracy, which means you are telling lie. That is not at all possible, because already our instruments are 30% error to 40% error. So already they have inbuilt error in it because of aging and because of so many other conditions. So if you have done in your machines lab, done experiment and got output more than 80 to 85, which means you have just traced your model graph and plotted the value. Okay, so that is what we mean to say. Nothing can measure very accurate. So, okay, everybody will have error. So first type of error which we undergo is parallaxes error, which is nothing but we are not correctly monitoring the reading. You might have seen various measuring instrument in machines lab like voltmeter and ammeter. You might have observed a glass plate, a mirror structure beneath your scale. It is meant to reduce parallaxes error, which means when I see from the top, the pointer and the image of the pointer should coincide in a single, so that if that is happening, then only you are correctly recording the value. So if you view the meter from any particular angle, not with respect to 90 degree, then you will get into parallaxes error. Then calibration error, we might have bought the instrument in 2000 or 1995, and if you are using in 2018, there will be an error cost. Okay, so that we have to again go for calibration with the standard, and then we have to use. Then something called zero error. This you might have seen you will see in this semester in EDC lab and all. You will have an instrument when you get it from the staff, and if you connect it, you will see already the pointer will be in 1 or 2, not in 0. So that is called zero error. There is an option, there will be a small thread, you have to use that thread and try to bring it to 0, and then you have to use. Then comes a person called damage, already misused. There is chance for misuse. I think you all might have seen multimeter in college, and all multimeter will not work correctly, because what is done is they will try to measure current by putting in voltage scale. That's all, chapter over. When you measure current using you are putting your voltmeter in voltage scale, what will happen is, depending upon the internal resistance, entire thing will burn out. Thereafter, that multimeter, when you use for measuring current, it will not show the correct value. So that is called as damage. Then limit of reading of the measurement device. A measurement device which can measure say 0 to 30 volts meter, if I go and put it in 0 and 500 volts, at that instant itself, that device will fail. So that is what they say. Then errors are mainly classified into 3 types. So gross error, then systematic error, and random error. Just I will give an introduction. The third fellow is super fellow, who is called as random error. Random error is nothing but error caused by the nature. Okay, error caused by nature. Error caused by nature, if a meter is being prolongedly used in a high temperature area, that all the springs or the mechanical may elongate, that may leads to error. So that is called random error. And similarly, there is a person called gravity. See, we have been pulled down by earth at a particular we say it's 9.8 Newton per meter square, it is dragging you. So that is the reason for aging. Why we are look like aged people is because of the gravity. If you are not having proper intake of food, and if you are not taking all type of spinach, all type material, what will happen is you will be dragged more by the earth and you will get aged very fastly. So similar way, this gravity acts on all type of sensors and measuring instrument. So due to that gravity, there will be a small error. Even needle will not move because of that gravity. All that comes under random error. So let us start. First one is gross error. So this is purely human mistake, reading the instrument and recording and calculating the measurement result. Okay. So gross error is nothing but error caused by human. At the time of taking reading, you may do mistake. See, for example, in machines lab, one person will measure your tachometer and say 1350 rpm. The person who may hear as 1250 rpm, and you will write it in your record. So this is also an error, and this error we call it as recording error. And calculating, obviously we will read in millivolts and do the calculation in microvolts. Okay, instead of putting 10 power 3, we will put 10 power 6, or instead of 10 power minus 6, we will put 10 power of minus 3. So all that comes under calculating measurement error. Okay, so on the whole, totally gross error is nothing but human mistake. In three places we can do. One is at the time of taking the reading, or at the time of recording the reading, or while doing the calculation. Again, here they have shown some example that 31 degree can be wrongly written as 21.5. Okay, then these are avoided by adopting two means. Great care that when you take reading, you should be very careful, so you are not missing anything. The 2 and 3 or more reading should be taken for the quantity under measurement. Again, you will do this in your chemistry lab. I think you might have all done in chemistry lab. You take a solution in a burette and you take another solution in your beaker. Try to do mixing of this and try to calculate the normality of the solution. You may do this. At that time, what you might have done is, you will not do a single time, rather you will go for 2 times, second iteration, third iteration, fourth iteration. If the answer is not coinciding, then you will go for number of iteration. You will stop only if you get same result for 2 iteration. So these are the 2 methods to reduce your gross error. I repeat, gross error can be avoided if you are doing with great care, and gross error can be minimized if you go for more number of iteration. Okay, then systematic error is being classified as instrumental error, environmental error, observational error. Okay, now what is this instrumental error? Is nothing but error arises due to 3 main reasons. Due to inherent shortcoming in the instrument, which means from the manufacturer itself it is a failure. Okay, by manufacturer itself there is chance. See, when you buy a product, all products are not same. There will be some small mistakes. That is what they say it as inherent shortcomings in the instrument. If the spring used in the permanent magnet instrument has become weak, that we might have not noticed, but we have placed that spring inside your equipment, and there is something called friction, like small any obstruction in between the spring may be placed, then you must know what is hysteresis. Then your gear backlash, which is nothing but all some obstruction which is being created. Second one is due to misuse of the instrument. This is already I have told, putting in voltmeter scale and measuring current. Okay, that is called a misuse of the instrument. Due to loading effect of instrument, a good example is when you see some television in some home, you will have some patch of color that will not go at all. It will be permanently in your TV screen. That is nothing but overloading, which means you have used beyond the limit, so that that particular itself is got damaged. So all these 3 comes under your instrumental error. Environment error, I have already told, always nature will have a fight with us and nature will win, and we have to surrender before nature. Whatever you say we have invented, but nothing is before environment, nature. See, the best thing which is being created by nature is human, and we are unable to do it with the science. Not even we are able to reach 20%. See, whatever you take as a food, it has been digested and you are getting blood, but in lab nothing you can do and generate blood, so that is not at all possible. So now before nature we are only 20%, so nature plays a major role. We don't know how that is happening, so that is a big question mark. So there is chance for environmental error. The error are due to condition external to the measuring device, including condition the surrounding to the instrument. This may affect temperature, pressure, humidity, dust, vibration, or external magnetic or electrostatic field. So whenever you see external magnetic and electrostatic field, nowadays we are more disturbed by this electrostatic field. Okay, as per government standard, your telephone towers should emit this electrostatic field or the electromagnetic field or the microwave signal should be of only 120 milliwatts to 150 milliwatts it can be. But what happens is they go for 1500 milliwatts, which means 1.5 watts. So you are sitting inside a power level of 1.5, so obviously that will affect us. So next slide is observational error. So there are many sources for observational error, that what we have already seen, like parallaxes, inaccurate estimate of average reading, and then comes, this is a major role, wrong scale reading or wrong recording the data, which means you might have seen in machines lab voltmeter, where you can see that there will be a two reading scale, which is you can connect that same voltmeter for 300 and the same voltmeter can be connected for 500. You might have connected in 500 and you might take reading of the scale of 200, or you might have connected in 200 scale and taking reading of 500 scale. So that is what they say, wrong scale reading and wrong recording. So you might have seen wrong scale, then obviously you will record wrong. Then incorrect conversion of unit between consecutive readings. This is what I told, reading in milli and writing in micro, or reading in micro and reading in milli, you are losing the 10 power 3 term, which is called as incorrect conversion of units. Okay, so that is plays a major role, like you might read it in kilowatt and you might write it in watts, or watts will be written in kilowatts. All that error will come under this thing. Then this what I have already told, the quantity being measured is affected by many happenings in universe. We are aware of some factor influencing the measurement, but about the rest we are unaware. Even nowadays we are unaware. See, we say gravity and all, but we cannot feel it. Are you able to feel any person is pulling down you when you stand? No, till now we have not felt any such things, but there is some pulling force which is there. Okay, so that is called random error. So we are unaware, we don't know what is really, why it is showing wrongly, all because of nature. The error caused by happening disturbance about which we are unaware are called as random errors. Even they say you cannot make a perfect sphere. If you, whatever method you follow, the sphere which you prepare will not be a pakka sphere. That at some any particular spot you will have some defect. The reason is again because of random error. We don't know why nature is not allowing us. So you cannot make a perfect sphere. Okay. Then now we move on to something called as error analysis. Okay, error analysis is the experimental data is to be obtained in two forms for the test. So how to reduce error? So till now what we have seen is, we have seen what is sensor, so what is an actuator, then what is a transducer. So all that thing, first part what we have dealt is how you are going to sense, or how you are going to smell, or how you are going to get the value. And the second part, that fellow is reading okay, but there is chance for errors. Okay, error is from the instrument itself, you can have error, or from the instrument to transferring you will got error on such cases. Now okay, I cannot minimize the error at the time of recording or reading, but during calculation is there any possibility so that I can reduce the error is nothing but error analysis. So here we are going to see about how we are going to analysis. So there are two type. First one is multi-sample test, another one is single sample test. So these are the two type. So let us see what is first one is. So multi-sample test. In this test, the repeated measurement of given quantity are done using different test condition, such as employing different instrument, different way of measurement, and by employing different observers. So what we will do is we will pick 5 students. So that is what different observer. So 5% will be brought and equipment will be given to all 5, but the thing is all has to measure the same quantity. So that is what they say multi-sample test. So I repeat, in case of multi-sample test, the measuring the which what we are going to measure is only common, but instrument is different and the person who is going to use the instrument is different. So that is what they have told, such as employing different instrument. So it is not a single instrument, I will go for multiple instrument, and different way of measurement also. So even there will be change. For example, if you are going to measure a current, one person I will give ammeter, another person I will give voltmeter. With the help of voltmeter also I can measure a current, that is by putting I series resistance. We will try to see what is the voltage drop across that I series element. If you find that value, then I know R, I know V, from that I will calculate I. So it is an indirect method where voltmeter is used to measure current. Okay, and we will try to see whether that current and the ammeter current is showing the same value. One more thing, we will put a multimeter, which is nothing but a digital fellow, and try to measure. If all the three are saying the same value, which means the error is not there. Obviously they will not say the same value, there will be a difference. So then we will go for method how to identify which one is correct. Okay, that we will see next, where I have measured, then how is to reduce the error. So that is the next step. This step what we say is we go for multi-sample test, and the next one is single sample test, which means a single measurement for successive of measurement is done. The instrument is same, the person is same, but not one reading. That person is made to take 4 or 5 readings. So keep it in each position, take a reading, switch off, again switch on, repeat the process, repeat for n times. Then from the data I will try to calculate what is the error and I will try to get the value. So this is the two different way. One is multi-sample test, another one is single sample test. Okay, now histogram. When the number of multi-sample observation are taken experimentally, there is a scatter of data about some external value. One method for presenting test result in the form of histogram. It is also called frequency distribution curve, which means, see, for example, you take a series motor and you are going to do load test. What I have told in multi-sample method, each person will be given all set of equipment and asked to do the experiment. Then we will try to move next person. See, only thing is instrument can vary, but the testing kit should be same series motor should be given for all 4 person. So now what happens is, we are not going to show the 1% result to another person, because if you show, he will copy, he will not take the reading at all. So it is done separately. What happens is, afterwards, if you take all the data from all the 4 person, then you will get a huge data, and that data what we will do is, we are going to do with frequency distribution curve. So what we will do, we will take down, we will compare each and every value of all the 4-5 person, then we will try to plot a graph. From that graph I will take the frequency distribution curve, which is how many values are coinciding with all the 4 fellows, we will try to plot. So that will be like this, it will be like a bar chart. So now around 100 to 120, this side 90 and this side 120, so around say 20 is the right answer. So when you compare this three fellows, that is this particular graph and this, we conclude that approximately here this 20, so nearly 3% has touched this 20, so value should be in the range of 15 to 20. So that is what we will conclude. So we have to take only the peak frequency domain, we will take the peak. Okay, so this is one first method to reduce your error. Then arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean you might have studied in maths. The best approximation that can be made of number of readings of same quantity is arithmetic mean. Put all addition divided by total number. Okay, so if 21.2, 21.3, 21.2 and 21.5 and 21.6, add all them divided by 5. If the number of tests taken is 5, divided by 5. So number of tests will be at the bottom and summation of all values for a particular thing will be on the numerator. So that is called as arithmetic mean. This mean is computed by summing all values and dividing by the number of measurement. Okay, so that is called arithmetic mean. So now also you can get nearer closer value, we can try to reduce your error. Then dispersion from the mean, which means when you say mean, the foremost and closest which is there, foremost is the maximum deviation, foremost is minimum deviation. The property which denote the extent to which the value is dispersed about the central value is termed as dispersion. So if you say 20 is the value and some might have noted as 15 and some might have noted as 25, so center is 20, from this end to this end, from the end which is closer to you to the farther end, we will try to go for dispersion from mean, because 25 may be the right answer, all the other remaining 4 may taken the value as wrong, but if you go for mean, that value will not come into your picture and you may end in the wrong result. So I can go for dispersion from the mean. So this is another method. So by this method we will try to identify the far end from the closer end and then try to calculate. Far end is x3, x4, close end is x1, x2. So with this we will try to apply dispersion and try to identify the result. Okay, there are certain terms which must be defined as they form the basic definition to measure a dispersion of data, which is nothing but range. See, that value might not cross 25, and if some person has taken 30, then obviously I have to omit that value, because which is not at all in the range. We usually say no, if this is the motor with this is the power rating, that can be the maximum power which can be applied to that motor, beyond which I cannot apply. So which thing you should be very cautious is range. The entire thing should not go out of range. If it is going out of range, then that value can be directly omitted. Then deviation, what is the deviation to which I can go? Then average deviation, deviation also we go for averaging. Then standard deviation, which says for a particular temperature or particular pressure this will be the deviation. Then variance. So these are all the terms. So first let us start with the range and deviation. The simplest possible measure for dispersion is the range, which the difference between the greatest and the smallest value of the data. Okay, that is called as range. Deviation is departure of the observed reading from the arithmetic mean of the group reading. So you might have taken 5 values and you might have put a total, and the total will give divided by number of terms, you give it as arithmetic mean. So from the arithmetic mean you might have got an answer, bring it, then you observe the reading from the far end, then you try to correlate this, you get an answer that we call it as deviation. Then average deviation is defined as the sum of absolute values of deviation divided by the number of readings. The absolute value of deviation is the value with respect to its sign. So sign plays a major role. If a positive value and you get a negative value, then that sign plays a major role here. Then standard deviation is defined as a square root of sum of, so difference between average deviation and standard deviation is the including of a square root term. It is defined as the square root of sum of individual deviation squared divided by the number of reading. So it is important term in analysis of random error. Then variance is the mean square deviation, which is same as standard deviation, except that square root term is not executed here. So with this we will stop your class. Let us go for some discussion.